Holy crap, I'm gonna be rich! I know we've gone through this once before, you know, on my video about, you know, how to find your first trucking job, but I thought that this was something that needed a little more looking into. Recruiting is one of those things. You have good recruiters, you have bad recruiters. Thankfully, this job, I have a good recruiter. He's a great guy, but he's more of a manager, and, you know, he doesn't actively go out and recruit. They don't give him a quota or anything like that. So there's really no pressure. He sees an opportunity, he recruits. He's a good guy and very effective because they give him free rein to recruit. My last job, not so much. They had a quota they had to fill, and these guys were spinning any story, any lie, any amount of BS. You remember those stories about how they used to build houses out of dung back in the frontier days? This dude built the Taj Mahal and had enough left over for servants' quarters. That's how bad he was. So we're going to go through some of these magazines, and we're going to break down numbers, and I'm going to tell you why I'm doing this and what to look for when looking for a job. Now I could do another video on talking about why truck leasing is the worst thing you could ever do, but I'm not going to. That horse is dead. I beat it. If you really look at the numbers for truck leasing, this is all I'm going to say about this. Why is nobody with more than 1.5 years, 2 years of experience leasing trucks if it's so great? That ought to answer your question. You're hard pressed in this industry to find anybody with more than a couple years worth of experience who's leasing a truck. There are out there. They have a couple guys that have made it work. Majority of them, not so much. It's a bad deal. I could do 3 hours on why it's a bad deal, and I wouldn't make a difference. So we're going to talk about what you're going to be offered. One of the main problems I had when I was a trainer was getting the recruits back off the fence when they found out they'd been lied to. You know, he says he wasn't saying these things because I called him on it. No, I never said that. And I said, how come 12 of these guys have said the same thing verbatim and they all point fingers at you? Well, he didn't have anything to say to that. So I'm gonna talk over about 4 or 5 things that you're gonna hear. And a lot of these questions I see on Facebook, like, which is the best place to go to work? You got to ask a better question than that. Because you ask 40 guys where the best place to work is, they're going to tell you 40 different things. What should I expect in pay? How much experience you got? If you have 0 experience, don't expect a whole lot. But it'll come. It will come, but you have to put in your due. You know, it's just, I am going to do a video eventually on all the questions that are asked on Facebook. But if you're going to ask questions on Facebook about where to work, you need to learn how to ask more pointed questions. Say, I want X, Y, and Z in a job, and you're going to be made fun of. Don't get me wrong, it's Facebook. They're going to be like, well, you're not asking for much. Well, actually, in reality, you're not. You want good pay, you want good home time, and you want good equipment. And that's not a lot to ask. You know, it's not. And if you don't ask for those things, you're not going to get them. Let's talk about pay. In these magazines, they go over just everything is about pay. But there's always a catch. Up to. That's the dirty little word. They never say you're guaranteed. It's up to. And if you're guaranteed something, trust me, they're taking it off the front end. So, you know, Don't have a trailer? No problem. Hey, guess what? Up to 80% of gross. I'll bet you 10 to 15% of that gross is going to come out as a trailer lease. It's or it says, do you want to average $4,000 a week? Well, who doesn't? That is gross. You're going to average half that if you're lucky. That's, you know, $1,100 to $1,200 a week. You got a trailer lease. You got your truck payment. You're going to bring home at $4,000 a week. You'll be bringing home maybe $1,200 a week. Are you happy with that? Most people aren't. The big thing I see with pay is everybody says up to. One guy said you can make up to $160,000 a year as a lease driver. Are you high? That's 80 cents a mile plus the fuel surcharge. More like 83 cents if you're lucky. Do you want to be a lease driver for 83 cents? Wear out your truck, get the national average for fuel surcharge, which right now is about 12 cents a mile. Is that what you want? Trust me, been down there. I made a whole lot more than 83 cents and I went broke. Don't do that. Now I got this one ad here, $3,200 a week guaranteed. Okay, that's for team driving. 70 cents per mile. You split that, so you're making 45 cents a mile. You're splitting that 3,200 guaranteed. Trust me. Let's see. Assigned Kenworth 660s and 680s. Refrigerators, APUs, and pets. So they haven't said anything. 3,200 a week. That's basically, I don't know, 35 to 4,000 miles a week at 70 cents a mile. You have to drive. I'll bet you that that guaranteed has got a catch. And if I was to dig into it, I'll bet you have to have a minimum amount of mileage to get that guaranteed. That's a trick they use. 70 cents a mile. That's to the truck. So you're making 45 cents a mile. I made 46 as a solo. And I got to sleep at night. And I didn't have to share my truck. You know, I saw that, I started doing the math, and I was like, okay, that's $1,600 a week per person. Take the taxes out of it, and if this isn't a lease, you're probably at $1,600 a week. You're gonna bring home $800 a week. Not bad, I guess, if that's what you want as a company driver. But if this is lease, you're gonna be taking taxes out of that. So you got to remember, every number they give you is a gross number. Another ad here says company drivers earn up to, there it is, solos earn $60,000 to $65,000 per year. Doubtful. Maybe after 3 or 4 years. Teams earn 72 to 78. Wait a minute. That's not even worth being a team driver. Trainers earn 80 to 85,000. That's all up to. Owner operators earn solo 12,000 per month or 144,000 per year. That's 12 times 12, guys. 144,000 per year as an owner operator. Pardon my language, that is money. Absolute. I'm not even gonna lie. After taxes, after fuel, after all the fees and that, you're gonna bring home $20,000 that year. And mind you, this is up to. These are gross numbers. Teams $24,000 per month or $288 a year. So they just doubled it again. What they're going to expect from that team is that truck is going to work twice as hard. 12,000 miles per month as a solo driver, you can do it. That's basically, they're saying you're going to make $1 a mile. Chances are, no, it's going to be closer to 85 to 90 cents. That's crap money. Do the math. That's why I tell people, don't lease a truck right off the bat. Don't even become an owner-operator right off the bat. Go and figure it out. Do the math and learn the business first. Now, when you're just starting out or you really need a job and you're not an owner-operator, don't worry about the equipment. It is what it is. They're paying for it. They're paying the fuel and all that. But don't worry about what kind of equipment it is, but worry about how it's maintained. If you're going down the road and you're seeing their equipment and it's just constantly filthy, it's constantly trashed, wheels are mismatched, paint's coming off, and trailers are rattly and all that, there's two things that are happening. They're not doing their maintenance and they're hiring bottom of the barrel drivers. You don't want to work for those people. Take it from me, I've worked for those people. So part of this is visual. And even if you talk to the recruiter, you know, if the recruiter's the owner, it's going to tell you a lot. It's either going to be an exceptionally wonderful place to work, or the guy's too cheap to hire an actual recruiter. And usually it's the latter, especially if they have equipment that's completely trashed. So just be mindful. You know, it doesn't matter how new the equipment is or how old the equipment is. If it's not maintained, it's not worth driving for, because you're going to spend a lot of time broke down, you're going to spend a lot of time in shops, and you're going to spend a lot of time getting yelled at and eventually get run out the door for basically wasting his money, and because you're trying to get things fixed and he wants to be cheap. I have seen it happen multiple times. Guys get fired for performance when all they were trying to do was get their truck fixed. He kept breaking his truck. He wasn't making his runs. Blah, blah this, blah, blah that. No, dude, your truck broke down every third day and I got yelled at. So it's happened. It continues to happen. Visually, look at the equipment that you're going to be pulling and that you're going to be working. If it's junk, it might just be best to go look someplace else to work. On the flip side, bear with me, if he has the most sparkling golden beautiful Peterbilt trucks out there and matching chrome trailers and all this, you're going to pay to drive those trucks too. You got to find a balance. I can't tell you how many guys I've talked to that go and they want to drive this beautiful equipment, and don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. Nothing like it. It's nice to drive good equipment and beautiful equipment, but if you don't own it, you're here to make money. You're not here for a beauty show. I remember there used to be a company out of Colorado that had the most gorgeous equipment known to man. I made a lot more money than they did. Those guys didn't make that much money. They wanted to drive the fancy trucks. Who gives a crap? It's not your truck. You're not paying for the fuel. You're not paying anything on it. You don't have a say. You're here to make money. I mean, if you can find a little bit of the best of both worlds, that might be where you want to be. Do your research. Those companies do exist. Now, we're going to talk about home time. That is a very contentious subject. People want to be home. People like being home. Good night, I like being home. I miss my garage. I miss my cars. I miss Red. I miss the dog. I like being home. It's It's my home. My things are there. And everybody wants to be home. Recruiters, oh, don't worry. We can get you home every weekend. Yeah, you can get me home every weekend for $400 a week, maybe. But if you really want to make money, you're going to have to be out. You're going to be missing holidays. You're going to be missing birthdays. You're going to be missing anniversaries. You're going to be missing a lot of things. It's the price you pay to do this job. Recruiters can't promise you home time. They can say they can try. They can promise. Unless the job is dedicated and it's guaranteed and put in writing, which they will never do. Well, one company I know did, and the guy told me, he says, yeah, it's great. If I'm not home on the 10th day, they deadhead me home and I'm home. And another little dirty secret that they like to play is the days off. Make sure that it is 2 24-hour periods from 12 to 12. Because if you get home at 8 o'clock on Saturday and they want you to leave at 8 o'clock at night on Sunday, they'll call that 2 days. That's not a joke. Companies have done that. And that was one thing that I would not compromise on. If I get home on a Friday night, I'm going to be home till Monday. I worked Friday, I worked Monday. Saturday and Sunday's mine. But typically, if you want to look for home time, about a day and a half off per week out is about average. Like I said, if the company gets you home, if you're just doing something dedicated and you can get home on the weekends and it pays good, it's not a bad gig. But just be careful for the double talk when they start talking about home time, because most of these companies, they want people out, and that's how they make their money. So they might starve you a little bit, and then they might start dangling a few things and get you out further and further and further from your home. So just something to be mindful of. Little story concerning home time. I went to go to work for Vulcan Chemicals. The guy could not find people. It's not Vulcan anymore, it's something else, and I don't remember the name of it, but they're outside of Wichita. They had a big yard probably 10 miles from the house, and I was interested. I had hazmat at the time, and they were just begging for drivers. Well, called them up and found out why. Math didn't add up. You can make this much money. And I did the math of what he was promising. Now, mind you, I'd be making a penny or two less than what I was making. I'd be home every week. It was every week or every 2 weeks. I'd have a short weekend and a long weekend. And the short weekend was I was home by 8 o'clock at night, and I was leaving by Sunday at 8 o'clock at night. Short weekend. Long weekend, I was leaving 12 hours later by 8 a.m. Monday morning. But that was providing I got home at 8 o'clock on Friday night. That's crap home time. But I looked past that. I said, well, what's it pay? Well, you can make up to, what did he say, $72,000 is what the average of guys are making. I said, well, what's it pay? He said, well, it starts off at X amount of miles and this and that, and you get paid for the time out. I figured that the average of run he was talking and how many miles he was saying, with a penny less, I'm running less miles, which means I would be working more, but in order to even get within $10,000 of what I was already making, according to what he was saying, I had to work an extra 30 hours a week at that $19 an hour that they were saying that you paid for working on the dock or whatever, you know, unloading and loading and that. And the math doesn't add up. Do you honestly think people are falling for it? Well, obviously nobody was, because that company got sold and somebody else owns it now. So, do the math. The long and the short is this. Do your diligence. You need to figure out what you want, ask the right proper questions, and have an idea when you talk to that recruiter. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. there's no it probably is. It actually is. You know, if you get a recruiter like mine, he's going to be straight. He didn't try to snow job me at all. He didn't try to sell me anything. He said, this is a job. This is what it pays. Do you want it? Yeah. And if you talk to enough guys out here with enough different companies, you're going to start seeing a common thread from company to company. And you're going to, you know, like if you talk to Swift guys, you'll start hearing the same things, good and bad. Same with England or Swift or all these other companies out here. You're going to start seeing a common thread. Most of the negativity is all individualized because somebody got butthurt over something. It's not anything to do with the company. It's just somebody's being an ass. But for the most part, it's what you make of it. Ask the right questions and you'll be a success. And that's really what we want out here. We want to be a success. So, that being said, I hope this video has been a little bit informative. We didn't cover a whole lot, but there really wasn't a whole lot to cover. Do your due diligence, ask the right questions, ask the questions properly, and eventually you talk to enough guys and you start finding a thread and all that, you're going to find out where you want to go. A lot of these companies people make fun of. I've talked to a lot of drivers that work at a lot of these big mega companies. One in particular, and I've heard so many people liked working there. It was kind of a shock. I've heard people say, you know what, I'd go back. And you know, after hearing of these and hearing the reviews, I might give it a try someday if I was forced to myself. But it's you get a reputation or so a bad reputation like that when you got 20,000+ trucks, you're going to hire some screw-ups. But you got to realize that 98% of the guys are good guys just doing their job. So 2% is a big number when you got over 20,000 trucks. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Good luck on your job hunts. Good luck. We'll catch you later.